Compression. Created by wizards, long forgotten.
Well, that's what they want you to think anyway. But is compression really as hard as they make it out to be? Spoiler alert, it's not. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid compression is neither magical, nor mystical, nor created by ancient wizards. Truth be told, it's just a really clever volume control. But what does a compressor actually do, and why do you need one? The job of a compressor is basically to make the loud bits quieter so that they match the rest of the audio, and it all evens out so nothing's too loud and nothing's too quiet. And it does that by squishing the loud bits down towards the quiet bits. It really does compress everything together, hence the name. Right, there you go, job done. See you in the next video. Well, not quite, but close. You see, a compressor is just a really clever volume control. But you can tell a compressor exactly how much you want the volume to change and exactly how quickly you want the volume to change. And setting those parameters correctly is the key to good compression. The problem is that if you're not careful or you don't know what you're doing, you can make the best recording in the world sound like absolute trash very, very quickly. Been there, done that. Let's take a look at a compressor, shall we? As usual, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use Reaper's native plugin, ReaComp. I've been using it for years, and it's never failed. It's free, it's flexible, it's fully featured. Here's my track with some audio and the EQ we did in a previous video. Let's add a compressor after the EQ. Please bear in mind that I'm only going to talk about compression for voiceover, so I'm not going to go through every single control here because there are some things that we simply don't need to worry about. But there's still quite a bit to get through, so buckle up. First thing to look at is the amount of compression you want. The two factors that decide this are threshold and ratio. Let's look at threshold first. This big fader on the left is possibly the most important part of compression. This is your threshold, displayed in decibels. The threshold tells the compressor how much audio you want to compress. Be gentle with this. If you pull it down too low, you'll crush the living daylights out of your audio. And if you leave it at 0, it simply won't do anything. Like everything in audio, be gentle and do the least amount you need to. Slowly bring the fader down until it's just past the peaks of the audio you can see bouncing around in the input meter. Then you'll see the red meter on the other side start to flash. That shows your gain reduction, literally how much the compressor is reducing the gain. Excuse me. In voiceover, you really only need a compressor to smooth out any stray peaks, so they're more in line with the rest of the audio. So ideally, you want the threshold to be just below those peaks. The next thing you want to sort out is the ratio. That's this slider here. This tells the compressor exactly how hard you want it to squish your audio. Be warned, it's a lot of maths. I'm British. It's got an S on the end. And I don't do maths, but a ratio of around 2:1 is the sweet spot. That basically means that an input of 2 decibels gives an output of 1 decibel. So the signal above the threshold is halved. Don't go much higher than that because the higher the ratio, the more it crushes the audio. Right, so you know how much to compress, but how fast does that happen? The next control to look at is attack. This tells the compressor how quickly to react once the signal goes over the threshold, and it's set in milliseconds. Set this too low and it will crush everything immediately, but set it too high and it might react so slowly that it doesn't actually do anything. I found that about 1.4 milliseconds seems to work quite well for voiceover, but play around with it and see what works best for you. But again, be gentle. Just below attack, you've got release. This tells the compressor how quickly to stop compressing once the signal goes below the threshold, and is also measured in milliseconds. Set this too high and the compressor will hang on for far too long and will start affecting more audio than you want it to. Set this too low and it will let go too quickly, which can lead to distortion. I found that the default 100 milliseconds works pretty nicely. Or, and hear me out, if you don't want to have to worry about release at all, you can let the compressor decide what to do by checking the box auto release, which sets the release time automatically according to the signal going in. It's very mathematical and it's your decision. And I wouldn't worry about the rest of the controls for voiceover. If you're using a compressor for music, it gets a bit more complicated, and compression for drums is a whole other level of stress. But we, my friend, shall head straight over to the output section. This meter here gives you your output signal. Now, the thing about a compressor is that it compresses your audio. The clue's in the name. And that means that the output signal is usually going to be lower than the input signal. And you might have to compensate for that with what we call makeup gain. So you can either increase the output manually by using the wet fader, or, and hear me out, you can check this box and use auto makeup, which will automatically ensure that the signal going out is at the same level as the signal going in. Again, it's all very mathsy, and it's up to you. And with that, we're ready to compress something. But before we do, a like and a subscribe would really help the channel. But here's what they don't normally show you. What happens when you get it wrong? And trust me, I've got it very, very wrong in the past. Now, you tell me which one you'd prefer to listen to. This? Compression is the act of pressing something into a smaller space. Or this. Compression is the act of pressing something into a smaller space. If you look at these compressor settings, the threshold is way too low, so we're crushing far too much audio. The ratio is much too high, so we're crushing it ridiculously hard. And the attack is so fast that it's compressing everything immediately. At least it's on auto release and auto makeup gain. Let's do it properly, shall we? So you've met the 4 settings you need to master: threshold, ratio, attack, and release. And you know what they do. Let's actually hear what good compression does. Here's a clean, dry recording. From small beginnings to large partnerships, together we shape the future of industrial construction. You can see that some of those peaks are a bit spiky. A couple of words just jump out a bit more than I'd like. Nothing terrible, but it's not as consistent as it could be. So we'll set the threshold just below those peaks. From small beginnings to large partnerships, together we shape the future of industrial construction. Then we'll set the ratio to 2:1, attack at 1.4 milliseconds, and we'll keep that auto release for now. And here's the clip with our compression settings applied. From small beginnings to large partnerships, together we shape the future of industrial construction. Before, from small beginnings to large partnerships. After, together we shape the future of industrial construction. Hear the difference? The audio is now much more even throughout. Those rogue peaks have calmed down, and the whole thing just feels a bit more controlled. And that's all we're after, really. And not a wizard in sight. Now, if you're listening to that and thinking, I can't really tell the difference, well, that's kind of the point. Good compression should be pretty much invisible. It just sounds better. If you can hear that something is definitely going on, you probably pushed it a bit too far. Now, did you know that you can actually see what your effects are doing to your audio? Go to the actions list and type in Apply Track Effects and select this one. Hit Run, and that will give you a new take on your track that shows you the waveform with your FX applied. I've got this mapped to a keyboard shortcut because it's that useful. And there you can actually see those peaks are being compressed, just a touch. Nice. But don't forget to hit undo and get rid of it when you're done. Is compression for voiceover as hard as they make it out to be? No, it's not. But it can be a bit intimidating if you don't know what you're doing and you don't understand why you're doing it. Be gentle, don't crush your audio until it's unrecognizable, tame those loud peaks, give everything a bit more consistency. A little goes a very long way. I'll put a link in the description so you can download the compression settings I used in this video, and for my practitioner tier members, the whole Reaper project is up for download as well. And if you're still not quite sure about those EQ settings, check out this video right here.